Chapter 5. Understanding who you are in your own story. A little boy passed a stonemason's yard every day on his way to school. One day he saw a lorry with a crane delivering a very large, beautiful piece of white marble about the size of a van. The stonemason, with his brown overalls, well-worn brown cap and pencil behind his ear, was directing the crane driver to place it under the shelter at the front of the yard. The boy thought about that piece of marble during the day and wondered what the stonemason was going to do with it. On his way home, he stopped by the opening in the gates to the yard and peeked in. He saw the stonemason walking around the piece of marble, occasionally stopping, standing back, and staring at the marble. Then, stepping forward and carefully placing a pencil mark onto the stone. He did that many times as the boy watched. When the little boy went to bed that night, he still wondered what the stonemason would do with such a big block of marble. The next afternoon, on his way home from school, the gates to the yard were slightly open again, and the little boy slipped inside to see what the mason was doing. To his surprise and delight, the mason was sitting on top of the marble with his hammer and chisel, carefully tapping at a piece of marble just below a beautiful horse's head, which was now protruding from the big block. The little boy gasped at the sight. The mason heard him. "Are you okay, little boy?" he asked. "Sir, I'm sorry for coming into your yard," the boy replied. "But I saw this big block of marble being delivered yesterday and was wondering what you were going to do with it. I can see a horse's head now and was surprised." "Yes," said the mason, "I'm making a beautiful white marble horse for my friend." "But how can you make a beautiful white horse from a big lump of marble?" said the boy. "How do you know what it looks like when you can't see it?" "Ha ha," laughed the mason. "I knew as soon as I looked at it that there was a beautiful horse on the inside. It has just been covered over for a long time." "But how can you get it out?" asked the little boy. "Ah, well, that's what I'm trained to do. I hold the image of that horse in my head, and then simply chip off any piece of marble that doesn't look like a horse. What has been covered over and hidden inside you by all the negative self-talk and opinions of others? Let's begin to discover what's really on the inside of you. I believe that everybody, deep down, knows what they are called to be. The hidden gifts, talents, and desires are already in place waiting to be exposed and developed. When you hear a conversation about these things, they resonate inside you. While conversations about other things don't mean anything to you, your thoughts wander to those things in your quiet moments. You feel a warm sensation on the inside when you allow yourself to picture those things becoming a reality in your life. It's something you would do for free if you could support yourself by some other means. Sometimes we don't allow ourselves to even venture into that part of our brain because we're afraid we might find nothing there. We have covered over our dreams and passions so well that we have chosen to forget them. But like the marble horse, they're still there. How do I know that? Because we didn't put them there and we can't take them away. They are built in from the very start of our existence. Think back to when you were young. Remember the dreams you had then, the great things you were going to do or be or have. Just because your life circumstances may not be what you wished for, the dreams are still there waiting to be expressed, and when you are ready to let them out, the way to bring them to life will show up. I truly believe that you cannot hold a picture of your new self, your passion, your mission, and believe it if you don't have what it takes to achieve it already built in on the inside of you. We will discover that what you are looking for is also looking for you. Isn't that an exciting thought? We all have greatness on the inside of us. When we have a vision for our lives, we just need to be brave enough to chip off the pieces of our lives that don't look like that vision. Everybody learns from a very young age that nature operates through laws or precepts. If you throw a stone up in the air, it will come back down again. We know it will, and we know it's because of gravity. But do we actually understand gravity? For now, let us agree that it's because the laws and precepts say it will. If you plant a seed in its right environment and water it, it will grow into a flower. We know it will, but we don't understand the process. For now, let's agree that it's because the law and precepts say it will. There are many other laws and precepts that we know are there, but we don't understand them. Some people may understand them, but even though we don't, it doesn't stop us from using them. We might not understand how radio waves work, but we still listen to the radio. Same with TV, mobile phones, internet, and even our cars. We don't have to know how or why they work. We just have to learn how to use them. Thoughts in your mind are governed by laws and precepts with the same exactness. Your mind is the source and cause of conditions in our lives. So, we must start there to adjust and discipline our thoughts in order to shift the trajectory our lives are taking. But are our problems only mental? Let's take a look. For example, if we desire wealth, we find that it is not a place, because if it was, then all the people in one city would be rich and the people in another would be poor. Wealth is not the result of saving or of thrift, although both are good. Wealth is not due to any certain business, for men and women in the same business are rich and poor alike. It is something within the mind of a man or woman that makes the wealth, and that something is the quality and type of thoughts he or she entertains in the environment that they allow their thought to flourish or die in. Look at nature again. A cat waits for hours for a mouse because that's the environment he lives in. He doesn't question it. His environment is pre-programmed by nature. A child throws bread onto the lawn in a back garden, and within minutes the lawn is full of birds, even though no birds were visible when the bread was thrown out. That's their environment. It is organized, instinctive, and it's their nature. Humans are the only creatures on Earth that have been given the opportunity to create their own environment and program themselves to achieve their desires within it. However, instead of using the tools we've been given, like our ability to see pictures in our minds with our imagination, to focus on our desires and plan for the future, we neglect to use these extraordinary gifts, talents, and abilities. We settle for trying to build a successful life based on our senses and the examples given to us through our families, our education, and the people we associate with. We want different results, but we continue to do the same things every day. We ask advice from people who are doing the same things we are doing. We live, work, and socialize with people who are just like us. If we want to earn more money, we need to mix with the people who are earning more than us. If we want to be more educated, we need to mix with others who are educated. If we want to figure out how we can live with passion, we need to mix with passionate people. We can choose what environment we spend our time in, set our own limits, and change them whenever we decide to. All improvement is the result of thought, understanding, decision, emotion, action, behavior, and environment. We can choose our thoughts, learn how to make wise decisions based on knowledge and understanding, employ our emotions, and then we are naturally propelled into the correct action and behavior. We build habits, modes of operation, in what we think, what we feel, and what we do, and these habits can be either constructive or destructive. With careful examination, we can expose where these habits have been formed by our past, our history, how they affect us now, and how they can affect our future. We also need to carefully examine the type of environment we grow best in, and then design our lives around that environment. Think of yourself as a seed you want to grow. You first put it into a small pot, which is your read and learn environment, nourish it, water it, and let it get sunlight. When it has started to sprout, you move it into a larger pot. Your new environment, surround yourself with encouraging, like-minded people to allow it more room to grow. Keep feeding it and watering it. Protect it from anything that would try to harm it or take life from it, such as negative people, people who don't want you to change. Soon it is big and strong enough to plant in your garden, your new designer environment, your new associations, the books you are now reading, your choice of TV programs, the new possibilities for your life, your expectations, and then it will start to flower. If you put it into a hot house, your more focused education on your personal development and understanding, it will grow faster. The success of the process is in choosing the right environment at each stage. Some environments fill you with excitement, while others pull your energy down. Once you become aware of that, you can make choices to ensure you spend most of your time in the best environment for your growth. Yes, it's a process, but an exciting one, because you will feel immediate results with each change. Remember, don't just measure the size or speed of any change you make. It's the trajectory of the change that's important. Taking one step in the right direction is better than any number of steps in the wrong direction. What is the difference between a smile and a frown? A computer will tell you that there is a 50% difference in the data, but we immediately know that there is 100% difference in understanding what they mean. The building of a new designer life will not be done by working harder, faster, or being more efficient at solving problems, like the latest computers do. No, it is by integrating information, knowledge, and understanding to be more creative and learning to process information in a new way, and that means trusting ourselves a little more, going with our guts, and being adventurous in our thinking. Imagination is not what we think, it's how we think. We do not see the world as it is, we see it by how we are. We show favoritism of the body over the mind. We look after our body and make sure it is well fed and clean every day. We make sure we keep it healthy, but what do we do for our psychological health? Sometimes nothing, or very little. We teach our children to have physical hygiene, but what do we teach our children about mental and emotional hygiene? Why do we spend more time taking care of our teeth than we do taking care of our minds? Why is our physical health so much more important to us than our psychological health? We sustain psychological injuries far more often than physical injuries. Injuries like failure or rejection or loneliness. We don't treat them like we would a cut on our finger or a headache, but these injuries can and do get worse if we ignore them, just like leaving a cut and not bothering to clean and dress it. It doesn't even occur to us that we should do so. We say, "Oh, so you're feeling depressed. Well, just shake it off, it's all in your head." Can you imagine saying that to someone with a broken leg? Just walk it off. It's just all in your leg. Do we allow ourselves to be defeated before we even start? 3 children were given 3 identical toy boxes. There were buttons on the outside of the boxes. The child had to slide the red button and a little doggy would pop up through the lid. The first child tried and tried but couldn't figure it out, so nothing happened. She sat back and cried. The second child, who had watched the first child fail and cry, simply cried without even touching the box. The third child persisted until she discovered that sliding the red button opened the lid for the puppy to pop out. She squealed with delight. This shows the different reactions to failure. The first 2 children were perfectly capable of sliding the red button. The only thing that prevented them from succeeding was their mind telling them that they couldn't find the way. Adults get tricked this way all the time. Our default set of feelings and beliefs that gets triggered whenever we encounter frustrations and setbacks is that we cannot succeed. If your mind tries to convince you that you are incapable of something, and you believe it, you'll begin to feel helpless, and you'll stop trying too soon, or you won't try at all. And then you'll be even more convinced that you can't succeed. That's why so many people function below their potential. In the second chapter, I told you a story about Joan, the woman who, many years after her divorce, finally went on a date. The man left after 10 minutes, and she called her friend. Joan said horrible things to herself, but then that's something we all do, especially after a rejection. We quickly think of all our faults. We think, if only I was like such and such. We beat ourselves up over our shortcomings, the ones we know so well because we have told ourselves about them so often. We do it even though our self-image is already hurt. Why do we do that? We wouldn't get a cut on our arm and decide to get a knife and see how much deeper we could make it. But we do that with psychological injuries all the time. Why? Because of poor mental and emotional hygiene. When somebody says something to you that hurts you, you replay the scene for days or maybe weeks in your head, upsetting your system and your self-image. This can become a very costly habit. 2 minutes of distraction can stop this way of thinking. Imagination is not what we think, it's how we think. It is situated between our perceptions and our understanding. We do not see the world the way it is. We see the world according to our instruments of perception and understanding. We see things that we already know and won't see things that we don't know. How does that work with reality? Our imagination will pick out the bit that we know and fill in the rest of the picture. We believe that some surface quality will reflect some inner essence. The way we dress is to give an impression of the type of person we want to be seen to be. Shiny is new, young is fresh. A growling dog is better left alone. We get a little information, and we fill in the rest. The reality is, in fact, The illusion of objectivity. The law of similarity. Like produces like attracts like causes like. That reminds me, that's just like if we meet someone we never met before, and they look like or remind us of someone we know and like, we are automatically more likely to like them or at least give them that benefit. If they remind us of or look like someone we know but don't like, the opposite applies. This helps us to make sense of the world. With people, we often take a behavior and build our opinions of that person around it. If they do something once, we can say something like, "You always do that," as though it was a trait. That person is always. Very frustrating if you are on the receiving end of that kind of comment from someone else. However, we often apply those thoughts to ourselves, and it limits what we try to do or hope to accomplish. Other people apply them to us, and it influences how they perceive us and how they respond to us. It's taking something that is ambiguous and grabbing hold of one part of it and interpreting it. This happens mostly unconsciously. We think, what is this in terms of that? That's how our brains work. Conditions under uncertainty. That's how to describe our imagination where the outcomes are uncertain. We think with our own voice when we're figuring things out, so our language and understanding of our words is critical. The word is the thing. The word is like the thing. Put salt into 2 jars while some people are watching. Then turn the jars around so that the labels are visible. One says salt, the other says cyanide. Has their willingness to use one or other jar changed, even though they saw what you were putting into each one? Words are like things, and our imagination makes reality different. Words don't reflect reality. They make things what they are in our mind. What words do we speak over ourselves? What impressions are we making on our self-image with the words we speak to ourselves? We take these words that we speak to ourselves or that someone speaks over us, and we put a whole reality around it. Words evoke experiences, not realities. A story is a collection of words that we put together in our imagination. This is where we form a picture that is embedded alongside our emotions and feelings. Every time we recall that image, the emotions and feelings we attach to it come with it. What, in your imagination, are you doing in 5 years' time? What makes sense of that? What led up to that? Can you work that path back to where you are now? If you think about it, talk about it, imagine about it, expect it, and believe it, then it becomes fate or destiny, for good or bad. Knowledge is great, imagination even greater. Any knowledge we have has come from something we previously imagined. Who are you in your imagination?